Since last 7-8 years, I am finding interested, intelligent people coming and listening to the talks and going and doing nothing. So the problem is the logistics. ECMO cannot be done by a single person. It requires a teamwork, and it requires volume of support, both in terms of tolerance and in terms of finance. So that is the reason. You require a godfather in ECMO who is going to sustain your learning curve. Then and then you will be perfect ECMO. No person, either you hire a well-trained ECMO specialist who is already doing a lot of ECMO at another center, and then he comes and does everything here, or otherwise if there has to be a local population to come up, they will have a learning curve. So that is the reason that to begin with, we have a good conference, people feel interested also, but the output is not there. Because I feel every state capital should at least have a very good geography. I found all states have got good roadways to the state capital. So in a distance of around 300 kilometers, means 6 hours of ambulance journey, and ECMO is possible at least at state level. So now I have found even B grade cities coming out with ECMO capabilities. That is a very good sign. So even regional centers within the state, like if it is Maharashtra, it is Pune or Nagpur, or it is Allahabad, or maybe Gujarat like Surat or other places which are not state capitals, they are also fine. It all depends upon your interest. It is not nothing to do with the place, it is to do with the interest of the center. So if you have to come out with, why are we doing ECMO? We are trying to give some answer to that very 6.1% population who is at a regional level. Now all of them cannot come to metropolitan cities. The ambulance transfer, air ambulance transfer is not less than 5 lakhs rupees. That is more than the cost of the ECMO itself. So again, if all those people who are to afford ECMO, time and money will run short. So again, the patient will not be a candidate for ECMO. So if you want to develop ECMO in our country, we have to look at our problems. So our problems is that if we have a road transport for ECMO, we have got more number of patients for eligible ECMO patients to be done effectively. That is very important. So if you are at whatever place, you have to see that at least at state capitals there should be good ECMO centers, which can cater around the state, because all roads are leading to state capital. So therefore, you pick up patients from your state at from another hospital and can do an road ambulance transport for such patients. So that is one way of doing the procedure at the right time to the right person. Secondly, once the patient comes to you, again at the state capital also there is a lot of ego issues. One hospital will not support another hospital, or there will be fights. That is okay, but you can develop your own team, and to develop that own team, you have to have a model. A model, how are you going to proceed? Now, as I have seen, there has been changing scenario across the globe as the finances about ECMO has been shifting balances. So different models I have seen, and our economy is self-funded, health is self-funded. So ECMO has to run only on a very low level of effectiveness or safety, because if you want to go for type A safety, then the cost of ECMO run is going to be very high. I said you can have dual standards, one optimum, one minimum effective levels. That is how you are going to build volume. The first message is you have to generate volumes to be ECMO effective. Otherwise, you will doing only 2 cases a year. How will you develop your skills? And if you are at a low volume center, neither you are learning nor your juniors are learning. So you have to at least do 1 ECMO a month to be remaining in gears that yes, you know something about ECMO. So again, we find sometimes difficult to maintain 20-25 cases a year. So if you are to do ECMO at your own center, though there are at least at any given point in time, every hospital has at least one candidate who is a candidate for one patient who is a candidate for ECMO, but he is suffering logistics, finances, and time delays. So if leave aside that, if at all you have a ECMO patient in any hospital in your state capital, wherever you are, at least you are ECMO friendly. You are in loop. You are communicating with them. Whenever there is an ECMO patient anywhere, you go there. You witness that. You see, seeing is learning. You share experiences, they share experiences. That is how your experience about ECMO grows. So ECMO community is very small. We have to communicate with each other. Every ECMO person is most willing to share the experiences what is facing. We should remain in loop. We should be continuously talking. We should be putting our ideas. We should be putting our problems. Everyone is eager to answer. That is a separate issue. We have to again coming back to the mainstream. Why are we not able to develop ECMO in our country? Countries like Taiwan, lesser than the size of Maharashtra, are doing more than 200 ECMOs a year, or maybe more. But we have not been able to, because such a huge population and economy of Taiwan is not greater than India. Then also they are doing a much bigger volume than what we are doing because of their policies. So we are talking about policies. If you talk about policies, then first you have to look what has been the past, what have other countries done and where are they standing. If I go to US, then from 1975 they have been doing ECMOs, and various states have their own stalwarts, and they have developed ECMO departments. Why? Because each ECMO run was $125,000 US, and there was a big sum for the hospital. So each hospital wants to be a ECMO hospital, otherwise it is a nursing home. So therefore there is a run that they want to become a ECMO center. Very good. If they are becoming an ECMO center, they thought they should be par excellence. So they started developing ECMO departments. In ECMO department there was a separate team which was not pediatrics or geriatrics. That ECMO team was different. It was like a CPR team or a different team. It was not connected to cardiothoracic department or not connected to an intensive department. That ECMO team has to have a ECMO specialist. I said he was the godfather. He was knowing in and out and each and everything and all the developments about the department. Then he will have under him at least a 9-member team, which can be expanded to a 20-member team. So data depends upon the volume. But in US also, they spend a lot of money. They developed a department. The department work was only to think and eat and drink ECMO. So they used to do a lot of research. They used to write papers. They used to do a lot of statistics, and that is how they was. That lot of literature came from them. Out of more than 50,000 bibliography of papers on ECMO, around 20,000 papers are on just hematology and pathological changes and things about hemostasis and coagulation and anticoagulation. So that was because in a 20-member team or 9-member team, there was a hematologist, there was a blood bank in charge, there was again intensivists and all those people, and they were seriously, or their ECMO specialists and their subordinates, they were thinking about ECMO, and they were all the time doing ECMO rather than people getting diverted by doing their own clinical work on the other side. So this was a role model in US, but now it is still suffering. Now they are not getting funds to maintain or sustain their team. They have to maintain their staff, their salaries, the department, the research work, the hardware, and of course the patients. So this is now taking a backseat. That model is in US. They are ECMO department which is separate from the clinical departments, and they get a call and then they see how to make protocols that they do things effectively. When we come to Europe, I find ECMO is clubbed to ICU, and ECMO is just like any other machine. If the patient suppose pay 2,000 euros for a single day stay in ICU, then whether it is a ventilator or whether it is an ECMO, everything is under that package. So finances is not looked after. Whatever is the sharing system between the insurance and that thing, so they are free about the financial side, but funds are not very great to run an ECMO department. So the intensivists in Europe are taking this model that they have to just use it as a machine without having a dedicated team to look into more research and upgrading the machine for everything. So there I find they use ECMO whatever whenever needed, but it is in the same package. There is no separate funds for development of the department. So that is the static phase where they are using machine, they are having some volumes, and they are publishing papers on that ground, but there is no research work. Then But once I go there about maintaining the possibility of a complications, they are doing so much of investigation that each day it would cost around 1 lakh of rupees in India. So therefore, I said for factor 10A and anti-factor and all those things, it is 10,000 rupees for each investigation, which is not possible for us to do a ECMO if we keep all those protocols in mind. Then we come back here, we find we are having problems. We start burning our fingers by doing those protocols, and we find we have to abort the ECMO run because at the end of day 3, all the finances are gone. Then we went to Taiwan. There we found that they say just do ECMO. Don't look this side and that side. Close your eyes and run. The patient is already gone. If he survives, it is good luck. Otherwise, you have tried. But that was the practical way of looking at it. You have a dying patient. You think no, he will have a bleeding complication or he will have a thrombotic complication, and therefore you are spending all the finances on day 1, and then you are waiting for the patient will require ECMO for 10 days or 15 days, and then you are lost. So they do minimum, hardly very minimal infrastructure of ACT levels and maybe some basic investigation about CVC and nothing. They do not do any fancy things. They just put the patient on ECMO. Many a times, say 80% of patient will not complicate. 20% patient will complicate, which is developing like bleeding tendency. Suddenly you find a GI bleed or something else going in a subclinical way, and it will come out suddenly, and we will tend to then say we did not think about this or we did not pre-warn the patient or look at. But that is how we have to do things in the constraints. We do not have all the logistics. So that is how they started doing it. So when we look at them and we found at least they are doing ECMOs, if not in the most optimum way, in a minimum effective way. So we also started doing in the same way, and at least we were able to do more ECMOs. I may not say most optimum way, but at least more ECMOs. So this is about the background what I found abroad, and then we apply ourselves to our circumstances. Our circumstances, as I said, 1% population can afford ECMO. Rest of the population cannot afford. There are rich patients also who go into the ARDS and other type of complication. That is where we are applying ECMO. Again, if there's a upper middle class population who have bad patients, they are around 10 to 20% of the population. There is a sizable amount of patients in the hospital getting admitted, but again they do not get ECMO in time because every hospital is not a ECMO center. And if they have to fly to another state or to a metropolitan city, then again so many things come into picture, and that one day is lost, and then the patient goes from a single organ failure to a multi-organ failure, and again we are in soup. So for that, we have got a good gathering from various states. I would like to think yourself as developing ECMO in your own state. At a state level, may not be a state level, but you are connected and you cater an area of around 300 kilometers from your hospital arena, where you can bring in patient to your hospital by road transport. So you have to develop your ECMO ambulance. In that ECMO ambulance, you have a generator by which you are sustaining the machines, you have more oxygen capacity, and you have a double-decker stretcher. This will come under ECMO transport, but I am just giving you an idea, because ECMO organization, unless you do not have ECMO, what is the point of just listening ECMO training program? You have to go back and think, how do we generate ECMO in our centers, in our given logistics? So for that, you have to search patient in your own state and try to bring them, work on the direction of transporting them by road that is feasible, and then start working in your own hospital. Because you will not have all the patients in your hospital. In your city, in your state, you will have that much amount of volume where you will be in, at least in limelight in ECMO. Okay. So once you start developing that model, that you become effective, then comes the intra-hospital organization. That is what I am trying to tell you, that okay, outside thing is like this. Now inside the hospital, you may have any structure. Cardiothoracic is the principal leader, or intensivist is the principal leader, or if a neutral person like a blood bank in charge who is the principal leader, but that person has to be interested. I told you there has to be a godfather. I'm telling you, leave aside clinicians, go to a neutral, a technician person like a perfusist make him a ECMO specialist in charge. But then he should be interested, he should take keen interest, and he should be knowing at least something about everything. So he starts initiating things, and then people can follow him and can help him and can improve the things. So you have to have a ECMO team in your hospital. It may be not more than 4 people or 5 people to begin with. I'm not talking about 20-member team, but you require, you cannot be awake 24 hours round the clock for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. So you have to have a ECMO team. ECMO team, if a clinician is interested, very good. If he is not interested, then do not block the seat. Then give it to an interested person. He should be of the paramedical side. Therefore, he can always think about ECMO. Then you know how to coordinate, whom to call, what is the availability, what is the resources, what is the inventory, and how much each one is doing it, what is lacking, how to improve. Then he's thinking about the department. That is how you will, small things you will improve, and that is how you will correct your problems. You have to have your logbook, you have to have your protocols, you have to have your own circuits, you have to play with your machine. It is the man behind the machine which is most important. You should know your machine, then only you will be able to perfect it. So therefore, whenever I was talking to all of you, I said come with your complete team so that everybody gets an idea that what is ECMO, and then develop the department in a hospital. Many people are not required. You should have a discipline in your team, otherwise nothing will flourish. So you have to listen to the leader. And I'm telling you, it may not be a cardiothoracic surgeon or a cardiologist or a physician or intensivist to be the head. It may be a perfusionist. So he looks after the ECMO like his baby at the department in a hospital, and that is how he develops a department, and then that is how you proceed. Now that is again all about you and your commitment. What about the logistics? In the hospital, things differently. I've seen, we go to places, we say that okay, you call us for our services. The hospital administration want to extract lot of profit about the procedure. They are right in their own way of thinking, but you have to talk to them that initially you have to do things at low cost to generate volumes. And once you generate volumes, then you can think about whatever price, but ultimately it is a competitive market and it is a patient, very serious patient. He has to sustain things for a long time. Of course, that is what theoretical I am doing. I do not want to enter into the understanding of the management, but the management has to be understanding. They have to give space for your learning curve. They have to give space for your inventory. They have to initially invest to get the returns. And I found there are incidences where ECMO has been successful. The hospital got that credit for it, and then they are getting patients out of it also. But let us say that is again commerce. I will only discuss science. That there has to be understanding person in the management to allow your department to grow, to allow time for your department to grow. That is how it will happen. It may not be possible or possible, that is a way beyond, but thought process has to go like this. You have to represent things to your management like that. That is how the ECMO organization will take place. So, okay, again as we say, ECMO was an extension of cardiopulmonary bypass. It has got various names, and it is applied through a different type of usage at different levels. But let us talk about only ECMO. ECMO is a fusion of man and machine. Means go way beyond, as I say, that over the time, if the patient has a certain cardiorespiratory embarrassment, the patient is no more after 5 minutes. Renal patient will give you 2 days, 3 days of time. Gastric patient will, again the septic patient will give you time, but a cardiorespiratory patient will not give you time. So we have to be prompt in that. So therefore, once you apply the machine on a patient on ECMO and you take the cardiorespiratory function outside the body, it becomes a fusion of man and machine. And man behind the machine, that the ECMO specialist is the key figure between success and failure. So you may not have control over the finances, you may not have control over the management, but you have control over yourself. At least you can become a good ECMO center. If you develop the skills, you will be required at other centers. So we are concentrating at the main in this conference about you being an ECMO specialist. So that you have to learn all the aspects. I would say at least 6 months are required for you to do a very hardcore studies to become a ECMO specialist. To call yourself competent about ECMO, there has to be a good training. Again, if I say if you are at a center where there is good training, there is a large volume ECMO center, that is the best place to learn. But everybody cannot go to that center. You are a low volume center or you have no ECMO at your place, it becomes slightly difficult for you. But then you can remain in communication. There's an ECMO in your neighborhood or there's an ECMO in another place. Seeing is learning. You can go to that place and learn. So nobody stops you in becoming an ECMO specialist. So don't give excuses that my place is at this problem and this is my logistics. No. You becoming an ECMO specialist is you yourself. There is nobody coming in that way. So our ECMO Society of India, the primary aim is to remove the inertia in the mind of our fellow men about ECMO and to develop the science and art of ECMO in our fellow men. So this conference primarily is the main theme of making a parting knowledge about ECMO specialists, that what we have gathered in these years, we want to share you this so that we develop in this. Nobody is coming in with you becoming a ECMO specialist, nobody is coming in between. Then your placement is a different story, which is subjective. Okay, so that is fine. As we start doing ECMO, people have said the first 25 cases you write off. That you should not count that for success and failure. That is your learning curve. Somebody said even 100 cases of ECMO you follow. Then you say that, then count the number that what is your success and failure. But that is a big number. Even 25 cases of ECMO will take 1, 2, 3 years for you to develop. So, and now because of lot of interaction, that 25 cases, maybe 10 cases, but when you start, you are an ECMO amateur. As you cross 50 or 100 figures, you become an ECMO professional. And you cross 500, you become an ECMO standard. And ECMO amateur, again, as I said, basically it is a putting of the perfusionists. Perfusionists have a 2 years, 3 years training into all the machinery aspect. Suddenly the intensives want to become a perfusionist. Nothing bad about it, but it is, then you have to at least have the skills that what perfusionist says. So when you are ECMO amateur, you are struggling with machine. You do not know how the pump is rotating or what is the flow diamond, this thing, dynamics of the tubings and everything. So you have to give time for learning the machines. So you are a 50% perfusionist and a 50% clean side. What I find why perfusionists are not able to go deep into ECMO is because they take interest into the clinical side of the patient. They are on inside they take care of and the job there. But if ICU is not the machine, it is the thing also. To understand clinical patient is understanding the what the machine and passport patient. Patient going on ventilator will directly go out, will not come out of the hospital. So that is what was my impression about a ventilator. Then as we started running our ICUs and the patient goes persistent but force to work hard on it. That is very important. So if you do not want to become a commando of medical military, do not step into ECMO technology. Then become an observer, become a physician, do whatever you want. That is one, you choose a profession. You want to become a ECMO specialist, you have to be a rope dancer. Otherwise, become a physician, walk like you are going in an aeroplane, enjoy a beautiful life, and don't have emergency sleep like this. But if you want to become a specialist, you have to be a rope dancer. ECMO is a teamwork. It's a well organized, well connected, well drilled team. Everybody knows what job he has to do. And ECMO specialist is like a scuba diver or like he has got a perfect control. He knows how to manage his way through all odds. That is very important. So it is the attitude, it is our struggle which will bring the results, not the infrastructure. Very important. So ECMO specialist has got passion, commitment, dedication, etc., 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 etc. There, the ECMO team has to have a ECMO technician, perfusist, respiratory therapist, critical care nurse, intensivist, cardiac surgeon, all consultant, associated infrastructure, machine, laboratories, everything. So all the paraphernalia within your hospital is okay, but outside the hospital will not be there. So everybody is important, but an ECMO specialist is like he has to go out of the hospital structure to fetch the patient, to face the emergency, then sudden emergency. So you have to be a jack of all and then try to improve your skills so that at the 11th hour, you have not to depend on this person coming, that person coming. In the ECMO organization, there is the ECMO director, then the ECMO co-directors. As surgical ECMO goes, sometimes there are 5 to 10 units of blood required per day. So blood bank in charge should be one of the co-directors. Otherwise, you will face problem. You will not get blood easily. So all other, there may be 4 or 5 directors, specialists, perfusionists, therapists, critical care nurse, biomedical engineers. All things are required in a team. But 4 or 5 people, dedicated, committed people, they are required. So other people can join the band, but they may be present or absent, but they should be part of the structure. So these are the various levels at the level of the director, at the level of the in charges, at the level of the performers. And ECMO is supported all around by many departments. He is a very critically ill patient. He requires, you may not be a bronchoscopist, but at least you should know to do a good suction. The patient is bleeding, the respiratory consultant may come later on, or you may not be a nephrologist, but you should know how to see to how to maintain the urine output on whatever way you can do by Lasix or dopamine or whatever. So at least you should know what to do for that time period. Okay, again the perseverance of the equipment. As I said, sometimes this is very important. A patient is bad, he requires ECMO, you start ECMO in time, there is no tragedy, patient gradually comes out, win-win situation, everybody is happy. Okay, patient is improving, no regrets, very fine. You have another level of patient, the patient is very bad, sometimes there are ups and downs, it's always jerks, waxing, waning course, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and every time a different story, new news to relatives, and then people say what is going on, we want to do ECMO, but still there is a hope, people want to continue. Till that also, okay, everybody's emotions are there, they do not want to give up, all keeps on saying continue doctor till the last moment. Okay, till that level also okay. Now there is a level C where the patient is just not coming out. See, you have tried everything, everything is going bad. You also know you are at your wit's end, you are at your resources end, the patient is not making improvement. Then also you wait for few hours. Sometimes the response is late. That is where, so you are almost uh, on the point of leaving, and you find the response coming later, and then again you build up. Then you again sometimes there is a vaccine waning, and sometimes the patient is just on the way of giving up, and then you just keep on going on. Sometimes the response is late. That is very important. So people say ECMO is very complex, ECMO is very cumbersome, whatever. I want to say that every placenta is an ECMO. So God, everybody is born with an ECMO. Everybody living on the earth is born out of ECMO. Every placenta is an ECMO. There is a cardiorespiratory perfusion going on. You see the structure of a cockpit. You see a space shuttle shape. It is 10,000 times more complex what you can imagine. So how do you say ECMO is complex? It is not complex. It is very simple. Only thing you have a complexity in your mind, you fear ECMO. It is very simple. ECMO has to be used as a bridge to recovery or assist device or transplant. And let us come to our Indian scenario. This is all about the theories and principles of ECMO. In our Indian scenario, first are the indications, and then fellow advisors. You want to promote a thing, people will take 10 opinion, and 9 out of 10 will don't know what is ECMO. Then they will give all weird advices, and then the time will be lost, and a willing patient will become a multi-organ failure, and then you will say, first day you will be advising ECMO, second day he will be saying yes and you will be saying no. Because the time is gone, now you feel now the patient is gone into renal shutdown, and what was the good chances yesterday has become bad chances now. So ignorance in a fellow man, then finances, late decisions, and competence, transport, and long-term management. Again, they are the problems in our country. The first biggest is the inertia in the mind of a fellow man. Again, still I would say 90% of our fellow men do not know what is ECMO. So we have to understand that ECMO is a cumbersome science, but it is for effectiveness, and time to apply ECMO at the right time is most important. It may appear costly at that point in time, but it will bear fruits if you apply in time. Otherwise, whatever finance you are going to apply on the next day will be a lost battle. So again, if I can talk about the centers from where we are coming, you may be from a cardiac center or a non-cardiac center. You may have a large volume or a small volume center. Large volume in terms of ECMO or a small volume. On ECMO, making money. Social issues are weird. Individual wisdom and constraints. We have a lot of constraint at all levels, but the only important point is a large versus a small volume center. If you are a large volume ECMO center, then everybody has a passive learning. So what I am trying to generate mannequins and trying to explain you many things, still 10% goes in your head. But if I have got a live ECMO machine going on, 90% goes in your head. So if you get a chance or there's a good large volume ECMO center, go to that center. And you see and take out time. You should go in time, see how this thing is done. That will add to your wisdom. Then secondly, when you start in ECMOs, call some talented people to assist you for 2, 3, 4 ECMOs, and then you can take off, because that is how we will prevent accidents. That is how we will reduce the mistakes. When you will doing things yourself and you have somebody standing on your head to check you are doing things properly or not. So we are 30. ECMO started way back in 75 in US, and we started ECMO in India in 2010. At 35 years down the line, then we have to catch up for this. And our problems are many, as you also know all those parts. So okay. Now the cost concern. This is an important factor for all of us. Cost considerations. As I told you, the industry is trying to strangulate you, and they want to raise you off the grounds and they want to keep you suspended. They want you to behave in the manner they want you to act. So therefore, you have to stand on your ground. You have to do what you want to do, plus take whatever advances they have provided you, but they should not govern you. So you should develop your ECMO department. Do not depend entirely on them. What I found lately, so many machines sold by so many companies, everybody using their own circuit. All intensivists are very busy in their clinical work. Nobody has having a ECMO department. So where will innovativeness and where will ECMO development will take place? This is the problem. So at least stop doing all these things. You develop your department, make your own circuits, get double type of ECMO effectiveness in your hospital. Top line, bottom line. So at least you can apply 2 more ECMOs to less economically sound patient. That is how you will learn. You have to make your volumes. If you don't make volumes, how will you learn ECMO? So as I said that we can do a ECMO in our hospital in 50,000 rupees. Machine are ours. Those machines is one-time investment. If it runs for 3 days, not a cost. Tubings, connectors, we can reuse. One oxygenator, one pump. Oxygenator 35,000 rupees on an average. Pump 7,000, 40,000, 42,000. Few connectors here and there. Less than 50,000 rupees, you can make a circuit. You can reduce the cost of the consultants by involving less people and requesting them to reduce the charges, or you taking up that responsibility and trying to do things that way. So that way, if required, patient not affording, with less than an intra-aortic balloon pump, if a patient has to go on a cardiology shop or this thing, I can put an ECMO machine and have the patient in that way. Otherwise, if it is in your hospital, then the cost of a single disposable unit is around 2 lakhs of rupees. Plus then the machine cost and then all the organization protocols in your hospital, so many people to be involved, their charges, machine charges, then keep on increasing. So then how will the patient start afford 2.5 lakhs rupees to begin with and then go? So I feel you should have less costly machine at a hospital to do more ECMOs. So this was in short about ECMO organization and costs. You may have some questions. People are showing play cards. Go for lunch. Go for lunch. If you want to ask questions here, you can ask me at the lunchtime also. That is what. Question answer. One-time machine, if it is a 70 lakhs of rupees of machine, then everybody has to think about the dividends. So if it is hardly a machine of 50,000 to 1 lakh, then people will start thinking about dividends. You get second-hand machines in the market, go on the auctioning of various biomedical companies in the this thing, net. You find so many offers. In 2,250 US dollars to 500 US dollars, you find so many Medtronic machines anytime in the market. In the 20,000 to 50,000, you get ECMO machines, Medtronic machines. Then you make your own circuits. Then the manpower is at your responsibility. You can cut down your cost. You can reuse things. You can decrease the cost of the price of the console, and you make your own circuits. We cannot do the EPO of the tubing. Why not? You do it. I told him we use tubings, we use connectors, we use cannulae. Only thing we don't use Oxford is the pump and the oxygenation. Because they make great problems, hemolysis, pump clogging, another blood group in the pump tubings. So we do not use the oxygenator in the pump of the previous patient. And tubing is not a cost, tubing is very economical. 400 rupees, 500 rupees, the tubing is okay.
lost of echo. In your experience, who is the legal? In case loss of echo, in your experience, who is the main echo?
My experience was?
What is the cause of